the best performing, best ranking thumbnails are going to first focus on like expressive faces. That tends to work just amazingly well. If it's especially some main character or recognizable person, you see it, it's pretty obvious. Like, oh, I connect with that person. I want to see that. What's kind of funny, though, is they found that villains or like the evil characters perform especially well. It's like anytime there's like, oh, that represents the bad, put that up there and that's going to perform extra well.
Welcome back to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, self-development, challenging norms. Sometimes the episodes start with, Hey, come watch us on YouTube. Pop, have you ever thought about how absolutely crazy a nosebleed is?
Yeah,
You're telling me.
Ask a question.
You're just gonna
and don't
sit
let me
there?
answer. That's fine.
Rhetorical. I didn't mean for you to jump in or anything. You're just gonna sit there, do one of these across your nose. Your face is leaking blood. That's crazy to me.
You just take it, dude. I was in up until about third grade. I rode the bus into school. It took me like an hour and a half. It was illegal. That's fine though. The problem was I got on the bus and there was this kid I kind of knew. No one really liked him, so he sat with me. The problem was he came in with a bloody nose every morning. His mom, though, she's like, oh, I don't want you doing this Belky sniffle snoffle, so I'm going to shove like this thick, just wrapped toilet paper. It was like a pellet, just a pellet into his nose. So pretty much every other week, he'd come in with a pellet in his nose. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, Julius? Actually, he went to Brown, I think, with us. But
No,
he was
that
weird,
Julius
so
is
no
from
one
Chicago.
contacted him. No, that's an even weirder Julius. You don't want that one.
Well, I have
This
a
one,
question for you. Okay,
his
I have
breath smelled
a
really
question
bad.
for you then. If that was the case for him, why were you sitting alone on the bus with a seat available for Julius?
I wish I could explain it to you.
Boom, baby!
Julius, sit with me, Julius. Yeah, no, I was probably the weirdo. But hey, here's the thing. I also had bloody noses for a while. I couldn't figure it out. But oh my god, dude, I forgot about this. Holy shit!
I knew this hook was gonna spark something in you.
Oh, dude. So I got bloody noses like really bad for all my life. I think from like hockey, we used to have locker boxing, which is you'd put on your helmet and your gloves and nothing else, and the freshmen would go against the seniors, and I got the shit beaten out of me, and I just had a bloody nose for like years after that. But flash forward to like junior or senior year, it must have been senior year of college. There's this girl, a friend ended up going out with her. So we all right, this girl Monica, when
you started
I went on like this like date with her, I guess. And I don't know what it was. I didn't really, I was too scared to ask girls on dates, so whatever the fuck it was crepes and hanging out. And we go to the crepes and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm joking around, and then all of a sudden a drop like hits my hand. I'm like, oh fuck. But she didn't see it, and I'm like, no. It's just red, deep red, and I'm like, that's not good. It's one of the Dylan, like, it's dry out bloody noses. But I'm like, fine, just suck it right back up.
You can't stop
work.
the flow. It's fluid dynamics.
Out of nowhere. I never seen a flow like this. It's like a S-curve toilet. The shit, you hit that threshold, and it just started draining. I've never seen anything like it.
High
Dude,
pressure, low pressure.
Dude, the differential was insane. And I'm like, yo, Monica, you got like, can I borrow your napkin? And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, shoving it. And she's like, it's soaking through. And she's like, what's going on? Do you need like a doctor? It's literally like, I've never seen anything. I could have sworn half the blood in my body was coming out of my face. And I'm like in the street just leaking. And she's like, fuck, do you want to come back to my dorm? And like, easy now. And so I go into her bathroom and I'm just like covered in blood. Her roommates are like, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, I just want to eat crepes.
So
that's it.
I'm glad this is that relatable.
I actually
wow, I didn't know.
It was like supposed to be like an hour hangout. It turned into like 15 minutes, and I went home because my face was bleeding too much.
Right, so that's not normal. And the other thing that's not normal is the fact that this is an episode about our favorite Twitter threads this week. And here we
That's
are,
what this is.
4.5 minutes in, bloody faces. I like it.
You know what's kind of weird? It might be because my nervous tick is I always do this with my nose, and it just like triggers blood. I realized that back.
Oh,
in
you're
middle
probably
school,
rubbing
and
it raw.
Want to look up in there? I also really like when
Rubbing
a
it
doctor
raw.
like looks
Why do you
up
think
in my
that's a
nose and my
nervous-
ears.
Oh, yeah, you do?
You like that? Huh?
That's strange.
Did you want to know that? I thought you'd want to know that.
You like when a doctor looks up in your nose and your ears? I've never
Well,
heard
it's like-
that before.
Yeah, they get the stethoscope or whatever you call that. Nothing.
No, I know what it's like. I've been to a doctor.
I get a sick little high off of it. I'm like, doctor, do me dirty. And then he.
How about
shoves it in.
Q-tips?
That gets me going too. I Q-tipped this morning just for the feeling. Actually, they say not to do it more than once a week, but I'm into it. So it's
Once a week?
yeah.
I do it
'cause you're
after
just
every
packing
shower
it.
to dry out my ear. Yeah.
Oh, that's even weirder. I thought I was.
It's a
fucking-
musket.
You're Julius.
It's a musket.
Hey, one thing I
Well,
realized before
Bob,
we get into the thread, don't.
That's a.
Here's
Yeah,
what I realized.
it's a hook for the
yesterday.
ages. That's all I'm saying.
I don't. I just feel bad for Monica because that was the weirdest crepe session I've ever seen in my life. I wish I could properly you can't document something like that, but it's literally like take a pint of blood like you see at the hospital, like they got them in bags or something, and just fucking put that on my face and punch me and explode it all over my face. That was the slaughter that she saw. But what I realized is this. I texted you yesterday. I'm like, Belky, I don't know what I said to start it, but I'm like, basically, hey, do you want to do a thread too, and I'll do a thread, and we both do threads, or I can just thread it? And you're like, I don't know, fucking, you can just thread it if you want. I'm like, yeah, I get a crack high off it. Like, do you get crack highs off this? You're like, nah, not really. I just kind of just show up and see the word nosebleed, and then you kind of tweak out for like 30 minutes. I'm like, really? I don't know what you get
Maybe
crack, if it's your little checklist or what's your crack high?
Well, then I told you I don't really get highs. Highs. I don't really get
That
lows.
is the saddest thing.
My crack high is just the most average constant. It's just I get a high out of not getting high.
That's
I think what you're
It's
explaining to
kinda
me is
crazy.
bipolar disorder.
could be, or you got something bad. What's the opposite of bipolar? You got fucking boring.
Well,
as
that's what
shit
you said.
disorder.
We all got something. We all got something crazy,
You
dude.
just gotta
and
tap
nobody's
into it.
changing. Nobody's
You
changing.
listen
All
to Sam
different
Parr,
shapes,
huh?
sizes, and skews.
You just, I kind of like that episode this morning. It's April 26th, so whatever the MFM that is, you'll see it on YouTube.
My first
You will.
million.
My first million. Sam Parr's like, I realized you just got to treat people how they are. You don't have the hope they're going to change in the future. Like, well, there's a lot of references. I don't want to call myself out or people involved with me. But it's like, Dylan's not going to change. I'm just kind of like that, and you just got to put up with it. Versus, I just read yesterday, though, what is that book? The
Courage
one
to be
with-
disliked.
Courage to be disliked, and it's like, you can
I
change
gotta
on
read
a
that
dime.
today, huh?
The past ain't a thing. And now I'm like, I don't know what to believe.
Well-
But I know as a heuristic rule of thumb, people aren't likely to change. Like, what did they say? It's guilty until proven innocent that you're going to change.
When Andrew Huberman has some research, some study around the fact that after the age of 25, any change has to be like self-fulfilled. After
I
the
spent
age
that
of
time.
25, you cannot make somebody change. What do you got?
So
3
you're
months?
saying I'm malleable
Two-
for about
2
2
months?
months. I'm a little mallard duck. Squeak, squeak. I
But
don't know
yeah,
what
think
noises
about
they
that.
make.
I'm like, there's so many things I would want my parents to change, for instance, because I'm going to impose myself on them, and they're not going to change unless it comes from within. Then it comes from within, they get all jazzed about it. Classic, you can lead the horse to water, you can't make them drink. After the age of 25.
Yeah, Sean's
Before
not
that,
gonna
they're
suddenly
mallard
start
ducks.
Shooting videos. Hey.
No, he's not, Pop. What you got for threads?
I was trying to connect mallard ducks to this thread. It's a really fucking tough one. I don't think I can pull it off. But hey,
Let me say
let's talk
before we
about-
get to this thread.
Oh.
Let me say before we get to this thread. I'm gonna toot our horn a little bit. What was that episode last night that you said
It
Pam
was,
edited stellarly?
This video almost made us $20
142?
million. Something like that.
Yeah.
This video made us 20
Holy shit. This shit rips.
Pom.
I don't watch this podcast. Pom pom pam pam pom. I don't watch this podcast. I had a boatload of things to do late in the evening. And you're like, just check this out because I think Pam crushed it. I
It's
watched the
Pom.
thing and I literally Pom, dude, you're right. Sorry,
It's like
Pom.
think Palm Pilot.
I just see PAM and I'm like so American that Palm
The
Pilot.
Office.
God, I'm an idiot.
Hey, I didn't mean to derail you.
No, that's Pam. I couldn't click away from the thing for an hour and 10 minutes. I was there, Pop. I said half the words. I couldn't click away from the thing. That's crazy to me, and so good for us. You know? Good for us.
Good for Palm. She fucking ripped it. I think that's
Yeah,
what I
thank you,
realized too. It's
Palm.
like scratch your own itch. Make videos that you would watch yourself. It's like, granted,
Yeah.
we stroke our own egos and like, hey, that's my face up there. I want to watch that, and that's kind of our whole business model too. Is people like seeing their face and edited in nice ways. But we didn't realize it till you get hooked.
Well, you know
into
what
your
it
own
is?
Episode.
What it is, Ali Abdal talks about the cringe test, where it's like, you will get to a point where when people ask what you do or like what your YouTube channel is, you'll tell them with like full gusto as opposed to cringing based on your past work. And it's like when you get over that cringe test, that's when you know you're making something like you're really proud of.
And you got past
That
that.
happened with me on the vlog a couple weeks ago.
Just
I've been
took
past
1,000,
that for this for a while because I think the content's nice. Just took 1,000. Hey, I don't want to sap all the tea out the room before we talk about one tweet.
Sentimental and shit. I was gonna talk about bold introvert and how that I'd run that by the cringe test, but my dad shared it with a bunch of his friends. And they're like, is this Dylan's real personality or is he just asped out? And it's like we still don't know. Hey, here's the thing. All right, I want to talk.
Trust me, we don't.
I want to talk about our favorite stock that took a plummet that has an amazing business model that kind of sucks at the same time. It's called Netflix. What are we breaking
okay.
down? We're breaking down this Trung T fan on Twitter at Trung T fan. He had a thread that got me into this rabbit hole of how does Netflix make shit you want to watch. Now, he actually got it from an article that they put out maybe 5 or so years ago, and it's one of those like I love it when people share what they're discovering. Like Netflix wants to keep everything close to their chest, obviously, but it's just so brilliant, and it relates to kind of our world in terms of like making watchable, clickable shit on YouTube. So here's the problem with Netflix, right? You get in there, you're sitting with Athena, you're trying to watch some good ass show, and you click the app open. Like
Selling
Netflix.
Sunset. Selling Sunset.
Okay, well if you
Dude,
can
it's got it
find
all.
it's,
Hot people,
No,
real estate, good drama, and two bald brothers that rule the world.
Two Bald Brothers.
Ah,
That should be the real title of the series. We get no
two bald brothers. Sorry, continue.
Um,
Sorry, I ruined this. You're clipped.
No, well, basically, no, I'm not like Sax. They'll figure out a trim around your ass. Here's the thing, okay? You just go straight to what you want. But for most people, the second they click open the app, they got a 90-second shot clock. It's 90 seconds between when you click the app Netflix and when you're going to click out. So they're like, okay, we have this entire catalog, all this video or movies, all of this stuff. How do we make sure they get something they want to watch within 90 seconds? Because if they click out, they're gone. They're going to fucking go play on TikTok, especially now. It's probably down to 60 seconds. So what's the best way to do that? Well, let's see what they got when they normally show something. It's like, okay, you can show like that little trailer at the top that auto plays, or you can show the title or the description, or you can show like the ranking. Is it MA or just a bunch of things. But the most obvious one is the artwork, aka the thumbnail. It's like when we're thinking, okay, what are we going to click on first? Are we going to read or are we going to look at the thumbnail? It's like, well, according to science, visually we process 60,000 times as fast as reading. So like, it probably doesn't translate one to one, but like, picture you could read one title in the time that you could quickly scan 60,000 thumbnails. It probably doesn't equate to that, but even take it.
Well, think about how we have.
Yeah. Give us some lessons.
Think about how we evolved, right? Everything was visual. We got 2 eyes. Then we start making noises with our mouth. That turns into language, which is audio. And then, only then after that, we go to written. So I see it as like visual, then audio, then written.
Right.
Like you can look at a paragraph of text. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, if you heard it, that's like one layer better. And then video, like we're just visual creatures.
Yeah, I never thought about the audio side of it too, because visual, audio, well, I guess visual is text too. Image, audio.
Right, it's like
text.
sounds turns into language. But that was 50,000 years or more after we were using our eyeballs.
Right. So basically just take it, our brain evolved like that, so let's just focus on what the brain does. So they know if they want to show you the most amount of content so you can quickly analyze and decide what's in it for you, let's focus on the thumbnails, the artwork. The problem is this, though. Normally, they would go and like take Selling Sunset. Selling Sunset, they would have their creative team come up with a couple different artworks and be like, hey, Netflix, use this. This is what we put on the billboards and all our like paid ads and, I don't know, magazines or whatever they use. It's like Netflix looks at it. It's like, okay, this might be good, but it's also meant for like 100 by 60 foot billboard that's on the side of whatever the highway is in California. Like, that's not going to work. Because you shrink it down, you have like
Sunset Boulevard.
almost nothing. Yeah, Sunset Boulevard.
It would be Sunset
That's what
Boulevard. Yeah.
That's how it translates over. So if no longer the artwork that they're doing translates, let's just make our own artwork. The same way we with the pod, we're like going through trying to find a frame where it's like my face being goofy and like looking happy and expressive and your face looking goofy, and then we throw on like one image in the middle that represents something about what we talked about, the most interesting thing. That's what we're trying to do. They're just trying to do the machine learning version of that. So they're like, okay, step one, we don't have our palm who can go through and look for all these frames that might be the best. So let's just have the robots go through. Take an hour-long episode of Selling Sunset. There's going to be 86,000 different frames in that hour episode. It's like, okay, we have 86,000 frames. Now let's go through and categorize each one. Like let's go and tag it with all these different metadata. So it's looking at like contrast, brightness. It's looking at facial recognition, nudity, just like kind of how the composition is laid out, if there's people in it, etc. So it's doing all of this tagging, and then once it has all that information, it's going to go through and rank. And so it kind of breaks it down into visual, contextual, and composition. The visual is kind of like that brightness, contrast, all like the basic. Is it just a good image? Does it have like motion blur? We don't want that. Let's just cut all that shit out. And then it's like, okay, contextual. Is it like a bunch of people, or is it like an image of some, I don't know, beautiful landscape, or what might it be? And then it's composition. Like, is it rule of thirds? Does it have depth of field? Like the classic art school kid that's going to tell you that makes it a beautiful photo. You opened your mouth like you were going to chime in. Okay.
That's all real?
Yeah. So for every single frame, it's just going through.
I wanted to say, wow, I didn't want to cut you.
And we got the lag switch. Hey, one of these days we'll be back in person.
Oh wait, I might be running out of Wi-Fi. Hold on. but that was expected, so don't worry. And I bought another. Oh wait, no, we're good, Pop. We should be good.
Hey, false alarm. So basically, it takes all this stuff, it kind of grades it, and now you're gonna go through and rank it. So you're like, okay, we have all this criteria, let's rank it. And what they've found is that the best performing, best ranking thumbnails are going to first focus on like expressive faces. That tends to work just amazingly well. If it's especially some main character or recognizable person, you see it, it's pretty obvious. Like, oh, I connect with that person, I want to see that. What's kind of funny though is they found that villains or like the evil characters perform especially well. It's like anytime there's like, oh, that represents the bad, put that up there and that's going to perform extra well. Then It's like just basic stuff like brightness.
Whoa.
That helps. Not having a shit ton of like people, because they referenced Orange is the New Black, and they had the first season had like, I don't know, 5 people on the thumbnail. Second season they realized all this learning and they A/B tested all of it, and they're like, oh, let's just put the main character's full face right up there and nothing else. It's like, oh, that works. And then also hyper localized stuff. So there's this what's it called? 8, I think. Hold on, let me look at. Fuck, I forget what it's called. There was some series like 8. Sense 8.
Hateful
Sense
8.
8. So Sense 8 was this this show, and it kind of had like diverse characters and backgrounds, and so they tested it in different locations around the world. And in Germany, for example, they like the abstract artwork, versus in America, we like the big faces. And then in Argentina, it likes, I don't know, landscapes. It's just completely different variations based on preferences, based on your culture. So they found all this stuff, and basically what happens is this like very nice intertwining of the machine learning robots with the creative teams, where the robots find the best frames, and then the creative teams come and like put on text in a pretty way. At least 5 years ago, this is what they did. Put it on in a pretty way and then upload it. And that's what they're constantly testing. And what's kind of cool is this.
That's like the perfect. That's like the perfect Naval. Like, don't be worried about jobs being automated out. It just lets humans focus on the higher level, fun, creative tasks.
Right.
It's like, let the computer crunch all the stupid data, but the computer couldn't really make an emotional, compelling, artistic thumbnail.
Right.
So then the human just focuses on that. Brilliant.
Yeah. What I like about this is looking at different thumbnails. One thing that it referenced in the research paper or the blog article that they put out was The Short Game, which is a documentary about a bunch of little binkies, little Brian Hongs, like young golfers. I don't know, they're like 6 to 12 years old, that are amazing. Like, okay, we produced this. How do you make sure it gets the most eyeballs? They came out with a bunch of different thumbnails. It's like, me looking at it, I have no idea which one would perform best. Not a clue. But you just run it through a number of people, and you're like, oh, this one performed like 15% better than all the other ones. And I have no idea why, it just did. So that's where you, like, the sort of creative director who would pick, like, this is the one that should go on the billboard. It's a bunch of bullshit beyond a certain level. It's like, get all the basics out with their little ranking algorithm of like, let's just cut all the motion blur, nudity, all the stuff that like wouldn't look good in the thumbnail. And then beyond that, let's just test. And it gets back to this the secretary problem, which we never debriefed this book, and I still want to, How to Not Die Alone, that talked about the explore exploit question of like, in marriage, how do you know when to keep exploring, dating different people versus exploiting when you settle down with that one person and just like really invest in one relationship? Same thing here. It's like, okay, you're testing a bunch of different thumbnails. How do you then know when to just commit to one, because that one is clearly the winner and you want to stick with that one? Still kind of be testing, but really focus on that one. And so they say like usually it takes them a couple days to get a significant winner in terms of like, this statistically is much better than the others. And then kind of with the research, like you'll keep that one, but still like occasionally want to test just to make sure you're not at some like local maximum, if you're familiar with all that statistical shit. It's like
easy testing, secretary problem. I think too with the secretary problem, it's been quantified. It's like you will explore for 37. You should explore for 37% of the time you allot to exploring. So if that's 100 days, you explore for 37 days, then the next best thing you see on the 38th day, that's what you exploit. Sorry. The next best thing you see up against the best you got in those 37 days is what you exploit.
Right. And it can be time, or it can just be total.
So explore for
impressions
37 days.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So,
that's great, Pop.
yeah. So, thanks to Trung for that.
Is that your thread?
It's also it's also kind of cool though, because I didn't talk about this yet, but uh, it'll combine the thumbnail metadata with your preferences. So, for example, the algorithm knows that Henry likes hot chicks in California. It's like, okay, now when we have, I don't know,
And real estate.
okay, sure. I'm trying to think of like, picture Good Will Hunting. Now, instead of showing you Robin Williams, because you don't like him as much as, what is it, Mindy Driver? Is that the chick in the show? I'm going to show a hot picture of her.
Ain't never seen it.
You've never seen Good Will Hunting? Minnie Driver.
No, sir.
Dude, it's like my favorite movie.
Mindy Kaling.
Oh, that crushes me.
Well, you should dump me then.
Well, whatever. It basically takes your preferences and it's like, okay, or Henry.
You just blocked. Hold on. You just blocked, closed down, and took off your hat and breathed. That's how uncomfortable you were that I haven't seen Good Will Hunting.
It's so foundational to who I am as a human.
3 maneuvers.
Um,
Asp? I know he's got asp.
something deep. But then it's also like, oh, it kind of gets your skin tone too. So it's like, oh, Belky's definitely white, so we're going to show him a lot of white people. And then it gets into some hot water because it's like, oh, this is a black film and there's one white person in it, and we showed Henry the white person, or the reverse. It's like, oh, this white film and there's one black person. We show the black people.
Target had the same problem. Their predictions for what people bought, because they would put it in a catalog and send it to their house, got so good. Like, they would take what I was buying at Target without my knowledge on my receipt. If I was buying like ice cream and I don't know, fucking chocolates and candy, they're like, oh, he's going through a breakup. And then they're gonna send me a magazine with all these things, you know, a single person would do, for instance. And they got in trouble with this pregnant woman whose mail went to her dad's house. He didn't know she was pregnant. She didn't know she was pregnant. Target had predicted it and sent her like a magazine full of baby coupons.
That's where like Target has some data, but
hey, the truth
Google
hurts.
hey, black people like black people, white people like white people.
An algorithm's an
What you
algorithm.
gonna say? The machine just does what you want. That's what they said too. It's like,
Well-
hey, we're just giving you what you want. So like, who are you to blame here?
Yeah. Well, Pop, I'm really glad you went deep on this because I went about as shallow as possible. I have found my 3 favorite little Tweety birds from the week, and if you have nothing else, I think we should go over them.
That's all I got.
So I think that's a yes. Steph Smith, Pop, at Steph Smith IO, quote, "The best resume is the portfolio of work that someone builds when no one is asking them to."
I like how you see. I got look at my notebook, and like I got
Come
little,
on.
like fucking drawings and everything to remember all this stuff. And you're like, I'm just gonna read the tweet.
Drawings!
Is that a Rhode Islander?
Drawings. There's 1 R. You want an insight? I'll give you an insight. Drawer, dude. Jesus. You want an insight? Athena, right? My girlfriend.
Oh,
Athena. God, she's so lovely.
2 R.
Look at me. I'm doing a breathing uncomfortable because I got to come up with an insight right now. Huh?
At least draw some pictures.
I have the insight.
I don't even remember the tweet. What is it?
Okay.
Build a portfolio or something?
Um,
Build a public? I don't know. I got distracted because you were reading.
the best resume. We got a minute and a half. Let's go. The best resume is the portfolio of work that someone builds when no one is asking them
that's
to.
Nice.
Right? So let me throw this one at you. You and I were like talking to Athena. I'm certainly talking to her
too, yeah.
for months. Like, what do you want to do? You know, how are we gonna get some free work out there? You were for a while. This, that, or the other. You know, she tries a couple things, gets some rejection, common stuff.
Oh,
And then I got like so busy with clipped and whatnot. What?
sorry. I just had a spontaneous eruption.
gotta keep it together.
That was a eureka moment in my head. Sorry, keep going.
Write it down. Write it down. So I get really busy with clipped. I'm stressed out the wazoo. I'm just like, I can barely manage myself. Now I can't manage 2 people. So she gets to this point where no one's watching. And she just starts booling, dude. Like, doing things that generally interest her, like writing. She learns crochet, whatever. I say whatever.
What is
It's
crochet?
cool.
I
She
picture it as
crocheted an entire
croquet
freaking
with
tank
like
top.
paper mache.
It's like
why
knitting.
don't they say
It's like
knitting?
knitting, but with one needle. I think it's for younger people. No, because knitting's got 2 needles.
Got around
2
down.
pinhead Larrys. Crochet is just 1 little needle. And then we're going on a walk one day. She comes. Look at this insight, dude. We're going on a walk one day. She turns to me. She's like, "I just took a SEO course on Google." It was just like, "Oh no, it's on HubSpot. It was a free HubSpot
That
course
did
for
their
SEO." I was like, "Oh, that's cool. What'd you learn?" She told me all these things she learned. She was telling us about our site and metadata and all these things. I was like, "Well, that's cool. I'm too busy to care at the moment. I'm sorry, but that's cool." And then she starts reading about copywriting, and she gets into copywriting. She didn't go to school for copywriting. Moral of the story, nobody was watching. She starts doing something she really enjoys, which is writing. She pitches it to a company. She's got the portfolio. She's got the proof of work, and the rest is history.
And then
She's way
everyone
better off
started
than I am at
clapping.
This godforsaken company. That was my insight. What's your eureka moment
No, that was
before I go on to
lovely,
the
dude.
next?
I'm glad your girlfriend's awesome. Got a job that pays better than us, and is just really going to be the first millionaire among us. What I was going to say first was, reminds me of Ais, our friend who's working at Morgan Stanley. He's some sort of bond trader. I don't know what he does, but he makes a lot of money. But he doesn't like that as much as working for his dream soccer team, football team if you want to call it that, Arsenal. He's like, I would love to just be an analyst for Arsenal or manage their finances. Like, that would be fascinating. I'm like, Ais, or we both said, back when we had him on the podcast on like episode 19 or something like that. Like, yo, Ais, why don't you just record a pod? Because you always talk about soccer. Just record it, and then when you apply a year from now, when you have enough experience, because supposedly you think you need that, then Arsenal's going to be like, oh shit, this guy Ais was just doing it on his own for a year, just recording, talking about Arsenal and football in general. Like, that's amazing. We tried to have him do that, but then he bitched out because it costs like $30 a month, and he quit after 6 months. So we're like, okay, not for you. But then I have this other friend in Chicago. He's like, you think I have ass? Picture him. He's just fucking blown out, and in a funny way. And so we were leaving Chicago, and I had
Blown
this.
out.
Like, we both had these bikes. If you don't watch Henry's vlog, watch that. But it's like a $2,000 Super 73 bike. Always get catcalls from black guys on the street. It's pretty hot. I tell Matt, I'm like, yo, I got to go to New York, but I'm going to do it in a couple months.
That's just a fact, by the way.
Not
That's
racist.
just
Never
a fact.
catcalled by a white guy or woman.
I can
Just, granted,
Yes, I can
We-
corroborate that.
our studio was in a heavily populated black neighborhood, so it kind of statistically makes sense.
Not even though.
But we passed through a lot of places.
Well, it was.
Can't call
but
out
yeah.
the wazoo. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Matt, I'm going to go to New York.
Oh, don't get into it. Don't get into the statistical significance.
I was pushing on. We just got to keep pushing on. Persevering, pushing on. I'm like, Matt, you're going to New York. I'm going to New York, but I got to take a break, go to South America for a bit. Can you take my bike there? And then I want you to kind of improve your life. Because he was talking about we're living in Miami, and he's like, I see you doing all these awesome things. I want to do it too, but I don't have the motivation. I'm like, Matt, you can have my $2,000 bike. All you got to do is shoot like 30 podcasts in the 3 months that I'm gone. And if you shoot 30 podcasts, then you can have my bike. And he's like, awesome, I'm going to do that. And he kind of gets cooking. He's in New York. I'm still here. I'm actually going to go to Chicago, so I should have just kept the bike. But fuck it. He's got the bike, just booing around. Actually got in a car crash his first day with it. But that's how fucking there he is. But he's shooting pods. And he gets to the streak. I don't know, maybe he got like 15 in. But then he went through this little episode, took a break. But then yesterday I got a text. He's like, actually I didn't get a text. I got a call. And I'm like, it's like 10 p.m. and I don't want to pick it up. I'm like, yeah, I'm watching a movie with my mom on Netflix because Netflix is dope. He's like, dude, problem. Your bike got stolen. And I'm like, huh. Let me actually read it. I was not expecting this. He's like,
Dude, read whatever.
oh,
So long as
it'll
gets
get back.
to
She's
Steph
still
Smith.
cooking. He's like, someone stole the bike. I'm like, LO, no way. He's like, I left it outside my friend's apartment. It's an expensive place too. And it gives me the rent. I'm like, I don't care. It's like, he was just a clown, and I guess he got drunk and left it outside. I'm like, dude, it's New York. What do you expect? You can't leave it an entire day and night and expect that it's still gonna be there. He's like, my bad. Basically, hey, I got deep into the story and didn't remember why I got so excited. I just realized my bike got stolen yesterday, and I'm never gonna get that back.
I'm gonna let you try and figure it out before I save you.
We had her on the podcast too.
You lost? So you're lost. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yes,
yeah, it's about doing the work when no one's watching.
Oh, that's
so
what I
think
wanted
Matt
him to
was
do.
podcasting, and you were proud of him for that.
His journey of getting into Web3, and I don't think. Well, now he's got to make it, or he owes me $2,000. That's what I told him.
Nice. Nice. Matt, if you're listening to this, or if you also lack motivation, go watch Mel Robbins' TED Talk, How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over. It's got 30 million views. She talks about why motivation is bullshit. No one's got it. No one's got it.
You gotta have
so
a 1 p.m. podcast.
Into doing things. Anyway.
It's the only way.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, it's 1 p.m. there? Jesus Christ, my day is just starting to cook. Number 2! Wow. This comes from @levels.io. I never do meetings or calls ever. I made an exception for Airbnb recently, and I won't make exceptions again. Everything only over text now. Calls and meetings are always bullshit. Pop, I think we make this exception. I certainly do, like 1 to 3 times a week, where we're like, we don't do calls, but I'll make the exception. And then every time I come out of them, just quadruple down.
Really?
No calls ever. I got to think about it all the way up to the call. We don't really talk about anything on the call. And then I got to decompress after for a little bit.
Like clients and shit.
Oh, no, our calls are great.
I was like, I like our calls.
Calls with, like, he's talking about, yeah, no, these are great. He's talking about, he had to do a call with Airbnb, like execs at Airbnb or something. Anyway, Pop, I'm going to get on with it. When you're doing calls like that, you should just ask for a preview and then answer the preview in text format, because that works every time. You're really good at that, Pop.
Can we hop on a call? And it's like, yeah, sure, but what's a preview? Like, what do you want to talk about? That's literally what you send back, and they're going to give you, like, bullet points, and you just answer them, and then it's like, you don't even need a call after that. You both realize it in the moment, like, oh, that would have been stupid. So that's how I got around it. Now no one even hits me up because they just go through Belky, and I don't know how many calls Belky's on, but apparently it's too many.
That's meta. It's not actually that many. It's great. It's a great life we live. Last one, Pop. It's a quick one from @Walter Isaacson. He quote retweets an Elon Musk text. If you're curious about Tesla, SpaceX, and my general goings on, @Walter Isaacson is writing a biography. Then Isaacson says, yes, and it's getting even more interesting. And that got me all juiced up when you sent it to me, because A, that's one of my favorite books of all time. Is it just called Elon Musk?
I guess.
See,
I didn't even know he wrote that.
I think it's just called Elon Musk. And that was probably in 2006. Oh, he didn't, dude. Fuck yeah, dude. Yes, dude. He didn't write that one. That was Ashley Vance.
Narrator. That's why I was like.
Dude, life rips. No, Ashley Vance is a dude. Pop, we gotta get the fuck out of here, Pop. Gardaloo.
God damn it. It just shut down.
Oh, wait, I want to make my point.
Make a point.
I want to make my point. I love Walter Isaacson's books. He goes so deep like you on this podcast, and I hope he writes the biography, 20 years later from Ashley Vance's book on Elon Musk, and Ashley Vance is a man. So I think
I'm pretty sure it was a woman narrating, though. That's all I know. Hey, before we go,
see ya.
This.